Hello, this is Shan Chandrasekar welcoming you to another delightful part of our programming. We have an extremely distinguished guest in the studio here with us today. He is the Minister of International Trade for the Government of Canada, none other than the Honourable Ed Fast. What a pleasure having you in the program, Mr. Fast. Welcome to the show again.
Shan, it's my pleasure. I'm so glad to finally be able to be on your show.
It's a pleasure. First of all, to start with, congratulations. From what I understand, you're going to be very soon the longest serving international trade minister in the history of this country.
Well, if I do serve out to the end of this term, I will likely become the longest serving trade minister. But I hope that my term in office and our government's term in office is characterized by what we've achieved on trade, not necessarily how long I've served as trade minister.
That's wonderful. Well, let's talk about the recent achievement. Today, the Prime Minister announced that there's going to be a summit following the historic agreement of the Canada-European Union Free Trade Agreement. Tell us about this.
Well, this agreement is very important to Canada. It's taken some 4.5 years to conclude negotiations on what is likely the most comprehensive, most ambitious, far-reaching trade agreement that the world has ever seen. Mm-hmm. It's certainly the most comprehensive agreement that the European Union and Canada have ever signed. And it's expected to increase economic activity in Canada by somewhere in the order of $12 billion.
Wow.
Which is really the equivalent of about $1,000 every year of additional income for the average Canadian family. Or another equivalency would be about 80,000 new Canadian jobs.
Fantastic.
So this is important to us, and we recently announced that we have concluded all the technical negotiations. The negotiators have initialed that text. We expect to very shortly to be able to release a full copy of the text to the public so that they can review for themselves and determine for themselves whether this agreement is a good one. We certainly believe it is.
I understand Canadian companies are going to have preferential treatment, I believe, in terms of dealing with the European Common Union. So tell us about this.
Well, once the agreement is fully in force, over 98% of all tariffs will be eliminated.
Wow.
And what it means for Canadian businesses, especially our small and medium-sized businesses, is that almost overnight they will have access to a market of somewhere in the order of 500 million consumers, well-heeled consumers. And this is a market that is huge. And it's a market that, for the most part, has been closed to many, many Canadian business people because of high tariffs and also because of the many standards and rules and regulations behind the borders in Europe. And this is a huge accomplishment and a huge opportunity for Canadian companies to take advantage of. We're hoping that they're already now starting to position themselves to take advantage of this agreement.
Hearty congratulations. Next month, you're leading a very important trade delegation to India, and you've been there before as well.
Yes.
So tell us about the significance of this current trade delegation, because in the previous trip when the Prime Minister traveled to India, in fact, I had the pleasure of traveling. In fact, I had the pleasure of seeing you and hearing your speech at the Canadian High Commission. You made a very dynamic speech there, by the way, in New Delhi. You have stability right now in Canada because it's the same government. You've been there for a long time. But in other democracies, sometimes governments change. And now there is a new political party and there is a new leader in Mr. Narendra Modi, who is now the Prime Minister of India. So tell me about the significance of this particular delegation, all the hard work that you did in terms of establishing those previous agreements. Are they all going to be honored? Will they all continue? Plus, are there opportunities for you now to make new arrangements and agreements in terms of trade with India?
Well, Shan, as you know, last November, our government released its Global Markets Action Plan. We call it GMAP. And that essentially is the umbrella strategy under which all of our trade and investment initiatives take place. And what we did is we identified the markets and the countries that matter most to Canada in terms of growing our trade and investment opportunities. And we identified India as a priority country.
Terrific.
I mean, it makes absolute sense. India will soon be the most populous country in the world. It is already the most populous democracy in the world. It shares common values with Canada. And over the last 3 years, we've had some success in moving our economic relationship forward. We were able to sign a nuclear cooperation agreement, a social security agreement, and India is also one of only 4 countries in the world that actually has a funded science and technology agreement with Canada, where each side invests $1 million a year into this relationship to drive collaboration on science and research and technology. But now that there's a new government in place in India, we are looking forward to establishing a trusted working relationship with Prime Minister Modi. I certainly believe that India is on the threshold of a new era. Prime Minister Modi has committed to very significant economic reforms. We welcome those. He's committed to making India more welcoming to investment, to trade, to freeing up the markets to drive prosperity. These are all goals that we share, and there are a number of opportunities we have now to deepen further our economic partnership.
That's fantastic. I understand some of your focus is going to be in the area of agriculture, energy, infrastructure, and then health sciences.
Yes.
So tell us about these fields in terms of what you're hoping to do.
And in addition to identifying the priority markets for Canada, of which India is one, we also identified the 22 sectors of Canada's economy that represents the greatest opportunity for export growth. And when we look to India, we identified a number of areas where Canadian knowledge and expertise and innovation can really make a difference in the lives of the ordinary Indian, as well as drive prosperity back here at home in Canada. And those areas you identified, agri-food and agriculture, infrastructure, energy, life sciences, healthcare technologies, and I wouldn't want to forget education. These are all areas of great interest to us. We know they can make a difference in building India's economy. So I'm leading a delegation of Canadian companies to India that are focused on those sectors. And we will give them opportunity to meet with key decision makers, key stakeholders. We will be matching them up with prospective partners within India that can improve their prospects of success in what for many of them will be an unfamiliar marketplace. And then beyond that, of course, they're hoping to spend a little bit of time with me, understand how we are hoping to build that relationship. So this is an exciting time, and we welcome Canadian companies who have an interest in India to join us on that trade mission.
That's wonderful. From what I heard, you're going to be concentrating on the financial institutions as well in terms of their success and their future collaboration, particularly banks, between Canada and India as well. Tell us about it.
You're absolutely right. The financial services sector is also one of Canada's strengths. In fact, we recently found out that for the 7th year in a row, Canada has been declared to be the safest and soundest banking jurisdiction in the world.
Especially during the recession and when the American economy was having major problems, Canadian banks were very solid still.
They were very solid, in fact, the best in the world. In fact, no Canadian bank went under, no Canadian bank needed government support during the depths of the recession. And we believe we offer some significant strengths in that area. So we're looking to open up new opportunities within India for our banking system. We're encouraging our Canadian banks to become more involved in India, but also our insurance sector. We've got some world leaders, Sun Life, Manulife. These are companies that are flagship Canadian companies that are well respected around the world and that have real opportunities to deliver valued services to the people of India.
Wonderful. You're a seasoned lawyer. You went to UBC, you graduated in law, you had your own law practice as well. Now, needless to say, that probably gave you deep roots, and it was a few years ago, you were well noticed across the country for your remarkable initiative of Bill 277, where you dealt with the dangers of misusing internet and abuse of internet resources for luring children. That was a very significant move that became a legislation. Tell us about it.
As I explained to school children when I have a chance to speak to them, the internet is an amazing thing. It has changed how we live. It has changed the world. And there are so many good things on the internet and things that the internet has delivered to improve our daily lives. But the internet also has a shadowy side, a bad side.
Right.
And there are predators within our communities that have taken advantage of internet technology to access young, vulnerable children. And they will develop a false relationship with the child, expecting the child to trust them. They'll lure them out of their homes to, say, a playground or a schoolyard, and then they will sexually abuse them and otherwise abuse them. And this is something that is very sad, it is tragic, that something like the internet would be abused. And so I introduced a bill that doubled the maximum sentence that could be levied against someone who is convicted of this offense. And I was very pleased that at the end of the day, all of the parties within the House of Commons supported that bill.
It's wonderful.
And it's just one additional small step that our Conservative government has taken to improve safety within Canada's communities, especially safety for the most vulnerable within our society.
You know, you were a member of the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage for a few years, and you made a significant contribution there. You were also involved with human rights issues. The experience that you gained there, how did that help you in your international trade relationships?
Well, some of the most valuable work that MPs do in Parliament is actually within committee, where they have a chance to discuss policy, they have a chance to review government legislation and private members' legislation. And I had a chance to serve on not only the Heritage Committee, but also on the committee responsible for transportation, infrastructure, and communities.
Right.
And I later on served as chair of the Justice Committee. And it really hones your skills to cover a lot of territory in a short period of time, because in these committees there are so many issues that are that come at you, and you have to be able to learn about them very quickly, because the people that appear before you as witnesses are highly skilled, highly experienced, and we as MPs have an opportunity to ask them questions. So you better know your stuff. So that means I spent many, many long hours briefing myself, making sure I understood the issues that we were grappling with. Of course, when I was appointed Trade Minister in 2011, I didn't really have a background in trade, so you can imagine the learning curve. Over the first 6 months, there were many nights spent late into the early hours of the morning, actually, briefing myself, getting up to speed on all of the issues that impact Canada's opportunities on trade and investment around the world. Now I'm almost 3.5 years in, and I certainly understand the file a lot better. It's one of the most exciting portfolios a minister could have, because trade is about building bridges of a relationship. It's about opening doors to new opportunities. It's also about global opportunities and making the world a better place by removing barriers to trade and investment around the world and increasing the prosperity of countries not only like Canada, but least developed countries and developing countries where they need our help and they need opportunities to grow their economies. And that's what makes this so exciting for me.
That's terrific. What are your priorities for the next 1 year?
Actually, one of the priorities that we've set under the new Global Markets Action Plan is to take our trade policy initiatives, in other words, our free trade agreements, our bilateral investment treaties, our tax treaties, and now start to promote Canada's trade opportunities abroad. So we are committed to helping our small and medium-sized businesses in Canada step over the line and start to explore exports. We have over 1 million small and medium-sized enterprises in Canada. Many of them have the capacity to export. And yet of that 1 million, only 40,000 actually export at all. And the large majority of them only export to the United States, our closest partner. There are other countries around the world that export all around the world. It's in their life's blood. And we are now saying to Canadian small and medium-sized enterprises, your federal government is making available to you a host of tools, our Trade Commissioner Service, Export Development Canada, which provides financing and insurance solutions. We make available trade missions like the one I'm going to lead to India October 12th to the 17th. And we're saying to those Canadian companies, you don't have to walk this walk alone. We are going to be there shoulder to shoulder as a Canadian government to help you explore these markets, to help you penetrate these markets. We're going to match you up with trusted partners in those new markets to make sure that you increase your prospects of success. Mm-hmm. We want to become an even greater trading nation. And so that is certainly my goal over the next year, to inspire Canadian companies to take that next step and start exporting.
That's terrific. I'm really glad that you're going to India right now, because from what I understand, India is expecting a GDP growth of approximately 5.6% in the year 2015. And 5.8% in 2016, I believe. And by the year 2024, there's a strong possibility that India is going to be the fourth largest economy in the world, overtaking the United Kingdom. So these are all startling figures. And as you said, by 2028, the world's largest population is going to be the population in India. It's going to overtake the Chinese population.
That's correct.
In one way, that is positive, but in another way, there are some concerns with that, because they're going to have their local challenges as well in terms of dealing with that population explosion. But we want to wish you all the best for your trip to India.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you when you get back, and you can talk about what areas you've been very successful in and what great collaboration is going to be happening, and how that's going to be of great benefit here to Canadians in terms of greater prosperity, more job opportunities. So I want to wish you all the best.
Thank you, and I look forward to updating you on what we've achieved in India.
Well, that will be wonderful.
It's remarkable that you have been able to build this business and expose Canadians to a wide diversity of culture over the last 4 decades. And your success is well known. You've been honored publicly for that success. And you reach into so many homes. You can give those homes and Canadians hope. And your reach is far beyond just Canada. I understand that some of the big opportunities you have are in markets beyond our own borders, and where you're speaking to people all around the world from a Canadian perspective. How many Canadians actually get that opportunity? You've done so well. Kudos to you. All of the accolades that you have received are well-deserved. I know our government very much supports the success you have had here, and I wish you the very best for many, many years to come.
Very kind of you. Thank you so much. And again, God bless you, and have a very pleasant trip.
Thank you very much.